This is macOS Ken.
Apple makes a move for business users. blankOS 26.4 is out, and Apple TV is up for a boatload of BAFTAs. It is Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer. Secure your network, block threats to your business, and save with offer code macOS Ken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. Your space online should be your space. I mean, staking your claim on social media is great, right up until the moment it isn't. Why leave your fate in the hands of an inscrutable algorithm or bands of bots? Now, if your online presence is a business space, Squarespace has tools to help. If you're looking to sell physical things, Squarespace can automatically calculate shipping costs using real-time rates from local carriers. If you're selling a service or something else intangible, Squarespace can gate your site, letting people see what's free while letting you set prices and rules for access to premium content. See what you can do with a free trial at squarespace.com/macOSKen. Then when you're ready to launch, use offer code macOSKen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Get started today. Go to squarespace.com/macOSKen for a free trial, then use offer code macOSKen for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. Start your free trial at squarespace.com/macOSKen. Apple has launched a new program for business, and you will never guess what they called it. The Cupertino company issued a press release Tuesday announcing Apple Business. According to the release, Apple Business combines built-in mobile device management, business email, and calendar services with custom domain support and a powerful new option to reach local customers. That powerful new option: ads in Apple Maps. Seriously, who's tipping off Mark Gurman? Referring to it as enhanced discoverability in Apple Maps, the release says ads on Maps will appear when users search in Maps and can appear at the top of a user's search results based on relevance, as well as at the top of a new suggested places experience in Maps, which will display recommendations based on what's trending nearby, the user's recent searches, and more. The release stresses that ads on Maps maintains the same privacy protections already built into Apple Maps. That means a user's location and the ads they see and interact with won't be associated with a user's Apple account. Ads will also be clearly marked to ensure transparency for Maps users, according to the company. Ads hit Maps in Canada and the US beginning this summer. As for the other features, built-in mobile device management will help businesses configure employee groups, device settings, security, and apps with pre-designed blueprints. Business customers will be able to set up business email, calendar, and directory services with their own domain name for smoother communication and collaboration, in theory. And brand management tools should make it easier for businesses to set up and manage how their brand and locations appear across Apple services and applications. Apple's mobile device management used to be part of the Apple Business Essentials subscription service. The brand management tools were part of Apple Business Connect, with features being folded into Apple Business. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac indicates that Business Essentials and Business Connect are both going away or being subsumed by Apple Business. And that right there is some brand management. Apple Business goes live in over 200 countries, including the US, on Tuesday, the 14th of April. Available to new and existing users of Apple Business Connect, Apple Business Essentials, and Apple Business Manager, the service will be free. The 9to5 Mac piece I mentioned says the biggest news in the business news is Apple making its mobile device management free of charge. Personally, I think ads and maps is bigger news, but why quibble? Even leaving off the ads, it's not like Apple's not going to be making money off this. First, the release points out that Apple Business includes options to purchase upgraded iCloud storage and support with Apple Care Plus, so there's money. Businesses can bring their own custom domain name or purchase a new one through Apple Business according to the release, so there's money too. And finally, if Apple Business takes off, if IT departments or businesses without dedicated IT staff try it, like it, and come to depend on it, what is the chance they're ever going to switch platforms? Which means more iPhones in the future, more iPads in the future, more Macs in the future, and all of that is more money. Call it a loss leader, call it a Trojan horse. Both of those things are things that have been known to work. More info on Apple Business is available on Apple's site. Bound to be happy over Apple's Apple Business is Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani. Apple 3.0 had him posting a note to clients, likely before the Apple Business announcement. That note was all about services, though. Evercore ran its annual consumer-focused Apple Services survey last week, quizzing roughly 3,500 smartphone users. Daryanani and friends found average monthly services spend per user stands at about $13, up from about $9 over the past 3 years. That growth has been driven by broader application adoption and mix shift towards higher value offerings such as Apple Pay, Apple Care, and Apple One. To be clear, when he says higher value offerings, I think he means higher value for Apple. Apple Music was the #1 streaming service among survey respondents. Apple TV was the #2 video streaming service. Among iOS users, Apple TV is currently beating Amazon Prime Video, according to the note. Shifting to iPhone users specifically, a willingness to trade up for the latest AI capabilities was down in the most recent survey. That dropped from 46% last year to 44% now. Daryanani and pals think users are underappreciating the potential of Apple Intelligence 2.0, though I think that's kind of on Apple at this point. While they're not interested in upgrading for a better Siri, they are willing to pay for one. Daryanani says about 61% of respondents indicated a willingness to pay for a personalized AI Siri subscription. Net wraps his note. Services momentum remains strong with upside from both average revenue per user expansion and higher services adoption across Apple's portfolio. Monetization expands beyond just the App Store, providing Apple with multiple ways to achieve double-digit services growth. In addition, expectations around new AI features remain muted as it continues to be a show-me story. Mr. Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $330. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. I know you know Nord thanks to their consumer VPN, but do you know what NordLayer does for business? It does the VPN thing. Be kind of silly if it didn't, but it does a whole lot more than that. NordLayer brings access control, only letting the right users into your system, and threat protection, keeping bad guys from your system and from your team. All of that in one easy-to-use platform with no huge setup and no new hardware. NordLayer is a layer of security over your existing devices, no matter what platform or platforms you use. On top of that, they partnered with CrowdStrike to bring Falcon endpoint protection to small and mid-sized business. That's enterprise-grade security made simple for businesses with just a few seats to 100 seats or more. They've got special pricing for those bigger teams and a special offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOS Ken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOS Ken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Apparently surprising no one but me, Apple on Tuesday released the full round of blankOS 26.4 updates and then some. iPhones, headphones, headsets, tablets. There seemed to be something for everything. Apple Pencil not included. Well, and no keyboard updates, but you get the idea. We'll start with iOS and iPadOS 26.4. A piece from Mac Rumors says those bring a few new features for Apple Music, including the AI-powered playlist Playground, currently in beta, help finding concerts in your local area, an ambient music widget for the home screen, and more. And accessibility. The 26.4 phone and tablet updates promise improved bright effects reduction. They also make subtitle and caption settings available from the captions icon while viewing media, and reduced motion is said to work better for folks who have trouble with the animations in liquid glass. Then there's a jumble of other stuff, including improved keyboard accuracy when typing quickly, the ability for family sharing groups to use different payment methods, and new emoji. Orca, trombone, Bigfoot. No, it is not a band from the 70s. Those are 3 of the 8 new emoji available in today's updates. Where CarPlay is basically an extension of iOS, iOS 26.4 did bring new features to Apple's in-car infotainment offering. A piece from 9to5Mac says CarPlay got 2 new features on Tuesday, support for AI voice assistant apps, and the Ambient music widget. Here's hoping they left out the one for sleep. Back to Apple's more traditional fare, Mac Rumors hits a few features for macOS Tahoe 26.4. Among those are the return of the compact tab bar option to Safari, a charge limit option for laptops, those 8 new emoji we've all heard so much about, warnings for apps that'll stop working when the last of the Intel-based Mac support goes away next year, and more. Sliding down to Apple's chronometer, Mac Rumors has word of new features for watchOS 26.4. Those include support for AirPods Max 2, due out in early April, the ability to start a workout using the workout type icon, and new emoji. To the parlor we go, where we find Apple dropping tvOS 26.4. It is addition and subtraction for Apple's set-side streamer. On the addition side, Mac Rumors says Genius Browse is a content discovery feature that provides recommendations for TV shows and movies across multiple suggested categories. Suggestions vary based on content preferences, and the options are updated regularly. As for subtraction, the dedicated apps for iTunes movies and iTunes TV shows have gone the way of the dodo. That also does end the wish lists for those applications. Finally, tvOS 26.4 does a bit of tweaking. The piece says the update adds more easily accessible customization options for subtitles, and it improves Apple TV audio format settings with an option for continuous audio connection for HDMI output. Now, just as CarPlay is part of iOS, HomePod software is a sort of offshoot of tvOS. Thus came HomePod software 26.4 on Tuesday. Nothing new for this one. Apple's release notes say the smart speaker update for HomePod and HomePod Mini includes performance and stability improvements. Moving now to your noggin. Apple on Tuesday released visionOS 26.4. Mac Rumor says that brings support for AirPods Max too, in case wearing a computer on your head wasn't heavy enough. Improvements to spatial audio and 8 new emoji, yo! There's also said to be support for an Nvidia streaming service that I've had trouble getting my head around, mostly because I don't have a Vision Pro to get around my head. A piece from Apple Insider says visionOS 26.4 opens support for Nvidia CloudXR 6.0 that should let users stream compatible games and software from a Mac or a PC to Apple Vision Pro. That said, the piece makes it sound like a work in progress. According to the report, there isn't any word yet about what specs are needed to execute this system at a high enough resolution and frame rate via a stream. It'll also be interesting to see how Apple and developers will solve for latency. With the recent focus on Karuna, Dark Sword, and Dark Sword's return, you'll not be surprised to hear of security fixes for both current and older operating systems from Apple. All of the blankOS 26.4 updates address security issues, but those weren't the only operating systems Apple released. A piece from 9to5Mac on Tuesday also had Apple dropping iOS and iPadOS 18.7.7, macOS 15.7.5, macOS 14.8.5, watchOS 8.8.2, and watchOS 5.3.10. Checking Apple's security site, watchOS 8.8.2 and watchOS 5.3.10 show no published CVE entries. Rather, a piece from Apple Insider says those updates deliver a certificate fix for FaceTime and iMessage. The rest of the new updates for old operating systems do contain security fixes, though, so have at. Or die by the Dark Sword, or whatever other naughtiness is hacking away. Are we done with the updates? You probably wish. We are done with the OS updates, though, which puts us in the land of the firmware update. 2 pieces from 9to5Mac guide our way here. One has Apple rolling out new firmware for Studio Display and Studio Display XDR. The other has Apple outing new firmware for AirPods Pro 2, AirPods Pro 3, and AirPods 4. Apple TV has picked up 2 armfuls of BAFTA TV Award nominations. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release Tuesday announcing 15 nominations across a range of titles, with top category nods including International for Severance, Pluribus, and The Studio. Running the tally, it's 4 nominations for Slow Horses, 3 for Severance, 2 for Vietnam, The War That Changed America, and 1 each for Down Cemetery Road, Knife Edge, Chasing Michelin Stars, Pluribus, Prehistoric Planet, Ice Age, Smoke, and The Studio. The awards will be handed out across 2 nights, with the BAFTA Television Craft Awards on Sunday, the 26th of April. The glitzier BAFTA Television Awards will be passed around 2 weeks later, Sunday, the 10th of May. And finally today, bittersweet news for fans of the Apple TV sci-fi series For All Mankind. The sweet part, the show has been picked up for a 6th season. The bitter bit, Season 6 will be its last. Apple made the announcement in a press release Tuesday. Talking of the series, Matt Shyness, head of programming for Apple TV, Said as one of Apple TV's most enduring and celebrated series, it has delivered time and again because of the extraordinary artistry of its visionary storytellers, along with Apple partners at Sony. We can't wait for people to experience how the story comes to its exhilarating conclusion when the final season debuts next year. Well, at least it's going to end instead of just stopping. The news comes ahead of the Season 5 premiere that starts its run this Friday, the 27th of March. macOS Can, brought to you by me and sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code macOSCan at squarespace.com/macOScan. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOScan-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOScan at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOScan.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Leonard likes this post.